Most people never manifest because they believe the outer is cause. They bow to shadows, while the light within them is silent. They chase the world as though the world holds power, but the world has never been master. The world is only echo, only reflection, only the hardened memory of yesterday's assumption. They pray with their lips, but cancel it with their inner speech. They declare hope aloud, yet rehearse defeat in silence. And it is the silence that governs. It is the silence that shapes. It is the silence that becomes flesh. They confuse desire with lack. But desire is not lack. Desire is seed. Desire is memory of fulfillment. Desire is the whisper of a state already alive within eternity, waiting only for your assumption. They beg God as though he were outside of them, but the kingdom is within. The name is within. The I am is within. And to deny that truth is to deny your own divinity. This is why most never manifest, because they wait, they plead, they look to men, they bow to time, they bow to appearances, they bow to delay, but appearances are lies, and time is illusion, and the only reality is consciousness. Assumption is law, imagination is creation, inner speech is prophecy, and what you remain in, you become. What you dwell in, you manifest. What you claim as I am, you wear as flesh. The mountain of impossibility never moves by striving. It moves by faith. For Matthew 17:20 has spoken, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move, and it shall move, and nothing will be impossible to you. But faith is not effort. Faith is not hope. Faith is not begging. Faith is knowing. Faith is the stillness of already done. Faith is assumption clothed in peace. Most never manifest because they refuse to remain. They assume for a moment, but bow to the contradiction. They believe when it is easy, but collapse when tested. And so they plant the seed and then uproot it in doubt. Remain. Remain though nothing shows. Remain though old voices mock. Remain though the past calls you back. Remain though the shadow shouts. Remain in the end, and the end will harden into fact. Your imagination is the womb. Your assumption is the conception. Your persistence is the gestation, and the birth is inevitable if you do not abort the seed. Most never manifest because they worship the evidence of the senses. They wait for proof to believe, but proof is the fruit, and faith is the root, and no tree yields fruit before the root has taken. Be still and know you are the root, you are the seed, you are the sower, and nothing outside of you has life except the life you give it. Your inner conversations reveal your true faith. Your self-talk is the secret prophecy, and the world is only repeating what you have been saying in silence. Proverbs 18:21 declares, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. And you are already eating, already tasting, already living inside the fruit of your inner tongue. Most never manifest because they refuse to change their speech. They cling to the same tired words, the same stories of lack, the same identity of defeat, and then ask why nothing new appears. Change your word, and you change your world. Change your speech, and you change your state. Change your I am, and you change your destiny. But most will not. Most are addicted to the old self, addicted to their bondage, addicted to their story, and they prefer the familiar chains of identity over the freedom of assumption. And so they perish not for lack of power, but for lack of remembrance. They perish not for lack of possibility, but for lack of faith in what already is. They forget that God's name is I am, and they call themselves everything but divine. They call themselves unworthy. They call themselves broken. They call themselves small. And the world obeys their blasphemy. It is not arrogance to say I am divine. It is truth. It is not pride to say I am chosen. It is remembrance. It is not fantasy to say I am fulfilled. It is prophecy. The blasphemy is to say you are less. The sin is unbelief. The fall is forgetting. And redemption is only remembrance. Isaiah 43:19 has declared, behold, I do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? But most do not perceive, for they are blinded by the shadow, deafened by appearances, silenced by fear. The new thing is already within you, waiting to be assumed, waiting to be spoken, waiting to be claimed. But most never claim. They wait for the world to give what only they can decree. They have made men their masters. They have made circumstances their gods. They have made delay their teacher. But there is one law, one cause, one master, and that is your assumption. Galatians 1:10 has spoken, "If I seek to please men, I am not a servant of Christ." And Christ is your imagination awake. Christ is your assumption embodied. Christ is your I am in flesh. So why do most never manifest? Because they are still servants of men, servants of time, servants of appearances, servants of fear, servants of shadows, servants of doubt. But you are called to be servant of I am. And to serve I am is to declare, to assume, to remain, to rest, to be still, and to know. Most never manifest because they refuse the Sabbath. They strive when they should rest. They beg when they should believe. They labor when they should lay down in the end. Sabbath is rest. Sabbath is stillness. Sabbath is peace. Sabbath is faith. Sabbath is the holy refusal to move when the world demands movement. Sabbath is the holy stillness of it is finished. To rest in the Sabbath is to say, I do not care what appears. I do not care what contradicts. I do not care what mocks. I remain in the end, and I call it done. Write it in the comments now, and let it be established. I am chosen. I am whole. I am divine, and nothing can withhold itself from me. Most will never do this. Most will never dare to declare. Most will never write. Most will never claim. And so they wander, and so they wait, and so they perish with unmanifested desires. But you are not most. You are chosen to remember. You are chosen to declare. You are chosen to awaken. You are chosen to embody. And you will manifest because you will remain. Be still and know this truth. Be still and declare this truth. Be still and live this truth. For truth does not beg. Truth commands. Truth does not strive. Truth rests. Truth does not delay. Truth is now. Why do most never manifest? Because they never become still enough to remember. They never silence the storm long enough to hear the whisper. They never dare to trust the seed when nothing shows. But if you would be still, if you would dare to assume, if you would persist in the end, if you would rest in the Sabbath, then your desire would rise, clothed in flesh, and your world would bow to your faith. Most people never manifest because they do not know how to dwell in a state. They live as wanderers, tossed from mood to mood, thought to thought, identity to identity, never remaining long enough for the seed to root. They call themselves faithful, but their faith is scattered. They declare, I am for a moment, then revoke it with a sigh. They affirm wholeness in the morning and curse themselves by night, and so they wander between states and wonder why nothing holds. The truth is simple. You do not manifest what you visit. You manifest what you inhabit. You do not create from fleeting sparks. You create from dwelling. And what you dwell in becomes the only fact. States are the mansions of the Father, infinite dwellings of consciousness, and every man lives in one now, whether knowingly or in ignorance. And you cannot escape a state until you release it. You cannot enter another until you assume it. You are always clothed, but the garment is invisible until it hardens, and the garment is chosen by I am. The garment is woven of your inner conversations, your felt assumptions, your sustained identity. When you say, I am poor, you wear it. When you say, I am unworthy, you bind it to your flesh. When you say, I am defeated, the world will nod in agreement, for the world is a servant to your decree. But when you say, I am rich, I am free, I am divine, I am chosen, the garment changes, the seed quickens, the shadow bends, and the world reshapes itself to clothe you in your own decree. Most never manifest because they refuse to die. They cling to the old man. They will not crucify their former self. They fear to let go of the identity that has kept them small, and so resurrection never comes. But unless a seed falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. John has spoken. Unless the old man dies, the new cannot rise. Unless the false identity is buried, the true cannot live. Your I am is the eternal name of God, and you are always declaring it. You are always choosing. You are always assuming. And the tragedy is not that man cannot create, but that man creates in ignorance, clothing himself in curses, while begging for blessings. The key is not effort, but remembrance. The key is not labor, but assumption. The key is not begging, but identity. For what you assume as true becomes your world, and nothing can withhold itself from the one who abides. Most never manifest, because they rehearse the past instead of revising it. They return again and again to memories of pain. They re-crucify themselves with stories of defeat. They replay what was, and so they bind themselves to yesterday's shadows. But the past has no power. The past is only imagination, clothed in memory. The past is clay, and revision is the hand that remolds it. Forgiveness is the light that dissolves it. Assumption is the breath that replaces it. Forgive not to excuse, but to release. Forgive not for them, but for you. Forgive to unbind. Forgive to rise. Forgive to sever the chain of yesterday. For as long as you condemn, you remain chained to the very thing you despise. Revision is redemption, to take the memory and clothe it with new meaning, to see the old scene through the eyes of love, to rewrite it in the ink of wholeness, and by doing so, free yourself now. Most never manifest because they have not understood forgiveness. They think it weakness, but it is the greatest strength. They think it excusing, but it is resurrection. They think it forgetting, but it is choosing again. Release them. Release yourself. Release the past, and you will discover the chains were never real. They were only sustained by your clinging. And the moment you let go, the moment you revive, you rise. Most never manifest, because they cannot be still. Their mind is noise. Their heart is restless. Their imagination is scattered, and the voice of I am is drowned by the storm within. But the psalmist has said, be still and know. Stillness is the doorway. Stillness is the Sabbath. Stillness is the faith that does not waver. Stillness is the silence that speaks louder than the world. The world tempts you to rush, but the Spirit says rest. The world tempts you to panic, but the Spirit says peace. The world tempts you to chase, but the Spirit says be still, for in stillness you remember you are God. Detachment is not indifference, it is sovereignty. Detachment is not apathy, it is dominion. Detachment is not coldness, it is rest in knowing, and most never manifest, because they never enter the holy detachment of Sabbath faith. You do not strive to manifest, you assume. You do not labor to manifest, you rest. You do not chase to manifest, you remain. And when you remain, the world conforms without effort. Most never manifest, because they cannot believe without evidence. But faith does not need evidence. Faith is evidence. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the proof of things not seen, and he who waits for proof will never believe. But he who believes without proof, he who assumes without sight, he who remains without wavering, will see the invisible clothed in the visible, will taste the eternal clothed in time, will walk in heaven clothed in earth. Write it in the comments now, and let it be established. I am still, I am whole, I am free, I am that I am. And as I write, it is sealed, and as it is sealed, it is done. Most people never manifest because they cling to appearances. They kneel before shadows as if they were gods, and they make idols of conditions, forgetting that all conditions are but reflections of inner states. They measure their progress by the outer, not knowing the outer is only yesterday's word hardened, and so they despair when they should rejoice, they quit when they should rest, they cry when they should remain. But he who lives by faith does not look to appearances. He who lives by faith does not bow to delay. He who lives by faith does not surrender to contradiction. He who lives by faith walks as though it were already done. For faith is rest, faith is Sabbath, faith is the end declared finished, faith is the holy stillness of one who knows, and in that stillness the world bends, in that rest the seed grows, in that peace the invisible becomes visible. Most never manifest, because they will not rest, they strive, they panic, they beg, they manipulate, they push, they exhaust themselves, forgetting that creation is finished and the only work is assumption. The Sabbath is not a day, it is a state. The Sabbath is the rest of the soul that knows. The Sabbath is the posture of the one who says, "It is finished," and refuses to labor in unbelief. Hebrews is spoken, "For he who has entered into his rest has ceased from his own works, as God did from his." And most never manifest, because they never enter this rest. They never cease from striving. They think manifestation is effort, but manifestation is surrender. They think manifestation is chasing, but manifestation is abiding. They think manifestation is force, but manifestation is remembrance. Remembrance of who they are. Remembrance of what is finished. To detach is not to abandon. To detach is to trust. To detach is to rest. To detach is to walk away inwardly from the noise of appearances and stand upon the rock of assumption. When you detach, you no longer need to ask, for you know it is done. When you detach, you no longer plead for evidence, for you live as though you already have it. When you detach, you no longer crave the world's approval, for you are clothed in the end. Detachment is identity. Detachment is Sabbath. Detachment is the refusal to bow to shadows. Detachment is the holy boldness of one who knows they are the operant power. Most never manifest because they have not understood that they are cause. They believe themselves to be effect. They believe the world happens to them, not through them. They see themselves as victims when they are creators. But consciousness is the only reality, and consciousness is cause, and what you are within is what you behold without. The outer world is a mirror, not a master, an echo, not a voice, a servant, not a God. Genesis 13:8, -9 is spoken. Is not the whole land before you? Separate yourself. If you go left, I will go right, and if you go right, I will go left. For the land is choice, the land is selection, the land is state. You are not bound to one outcome. You are not trapped in one fate. You are not chained to one story. All states exist. All outcomes are alive. All realities are complete. And you are the chooser by assumption. Most never manifest because they confuse waiting with faith. But faith is not waiting. Faith is living as though it were so. Faith is walking in the end. Faith is claiming the state and refusing to leave it. The beggar waits, the son assumes, the slave hopes, the son knows, the stranger knocks, the son enters, and you are no longer servant but son, no longer beggar but heir, no longer slave but master. For Ephesians 2:10 has spoken, you are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus unto good works, which God has before ordained that you should walk in them, not someday, not afar, but now and here and within. Most never manifest because they worship effort. But creation is not effort. Creation is selection. Creation is assumption. Creation is inner speech clothed in form. Creation is imagination hardened into fact. The tree does not strive to bear fruit. It rests in its nature. The seed does not labor to sprout. It rests in its design. The sun does not strain to shine. It rests in its being. And you do not labor to manifest. You rest in your assumption. Manifestation without effort is not laziness. It is law. Manifestation without effort is not weakness. It is wisdom. Manifestation without effort is not passivity. It is prophecy. And the one who abides in the end will always see it rise. Most never manifest because they are divided. Their mind says one thing, but their heart dwells in another. Their lips affirm abundance, but their inner speech rehearses lack. Their words declare faith, but their identity remains in fear. For a house divided cannot stand. A double-minded man receives nothing. For manifestation is not the product of many voices, but of one, not of scattered identities, but of one assumption, not of divided speech, but of a single decree. Therefore align your inner speech with your outer word. Align your assumption with your I am. Align your state with your desire. And when all is one, the world has no choice but to yield. Most never manifest because they do not remain. They quit before the harvest. They abandon the seed when it is germinating. They leave the state when it is taking root. They collapse at the moment of appearing. And so they reap not because they never endured. But you remain. You persist. You rest in the end. You abide in the assumption. You declare and do not revoke. And you will see what most never see. You will live what most never live. You will manifest what most never manifest. Write it in the comments now, and let it be established. I am still. I am chosen. I am divine. I am the operant power, and nothing can withhold itself from me. For I am that I am. Most people never manifest because they never embody. They desire but do not become. They admire the promise but refuse the garment. They speak of faith but do not wear its crown. To embody is to claim it as I am. To embody is to live as though it were so. To embody is to no longer ask when, but to rest in now. To no longer look outward, but to know it is within. When you embody, the question ends. When you embody, the waiting ends. When you embody, the striving ends. For embodiment is the final act of creation, the marriage of imagination and faith. You do not manifest by hoping, you manifest by assuming. You do not manifest by wishing, you manifest by being. You do not manifest by seeking, you manifest by becoming. And when you become, the world cannot resist you. The world has no will of its own. It is the obedient shadow of your state. It cannot contradict your embodiment. It cannot withhold from your assumption. It cannot deny the decree of I am. Most never manifest because they never dare to speak as God. They speak as beggars. They speak as slaves. They speak as strangers. And yet the name is within them, waiting to be spoken in power. When Moses asked for the name, the answer was eternal. I am that I am. This is my name forever, and this is your name forever. And every time you declare I am, you summon creation to bow. Most never manifest because they misuse the name. They curse themselves with their own tongue. They bind themselves with their own decree. They speak death when they could speak life. They confess lack when they could confess abundance. But Proverbs 18:21 has spoken, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. And you're always eating, you are always feasting upon the fruit of your inner word. The fruit is not punishment, it is reflection. The fruit is not judgment, it is remembrance. The fruit is not wrath, it is law. And the law is simple. What you decree in I am, that you become. So embody the truth, say I am chosen, and wear it, say I am whole, and dwell in it, say I am divine, and walk as it, say I am free, and live as it, and the world will be compelled to clothe you in your own decree. Most never manifest because they remain hearers of the word but not doers. They nod at truth but never live it. They admire faith but never walk in it. They collect knowledge but never embody power. But embodiment is the end. Embodiment is the crown. Embodiment is the resurrection. Embodiment is the kingdom come. And when you embody, you discover there was never distance, never delay, never denial. For the kingdom is within you. The Christ is within you. The power is within you. The law is within you. And the truth is within you. And when you embody, the veil is torn and you walk as God in flesh. Most never manifest because they live as servants of fear. But perfect love casts out fear. And love is not weakness. Love is strength. Love is dominion. Love is the holy boldness that declares I am. When you walk in love, you walk in power. When you walk in forgiveness, you walk in freedom. When you walk in faith, you walk in God. For God is love, and to embody love is to embody God. The truth is simple. Most never manifest because they forget. But you are here to remember. You are here to awaken. You are here to embody. You are here to declare. You are here to reign. So awaken, for you are not small. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are the breath of the eternal, clothed in time. You are the voice of I am, walking in flesh. You are the image and likeness of God, choosing worlds. And now I say to you, do not delay. Do not wait. Do not wander. Assume the end. Remain in the end. Embody the end. And the end will clothe itself in form. Write it in the comments now. And let it be sealed. I am chosen. I am whole. I am divine. I am that I am. And as I write it, it is established. And as it is established, it is done. Lift your voice. Declare it aloud. Say it with thunder. Let heaven and earth hear your decree. Let every shadow bow to your word. Let every lie dissolve in your light. For you are the operant power, and nothing can withhold itself from you. Be still and know you are God. Be still and know you are cause. Be still and know you are the resurrection and the life. Be still and know you are the eternal I am. And now let the prayer rise as flame. Let the affirmation sound as thunder. Let the word go forth as law. I am the operant power. I am chosen. I am free. I am whole. I am divine imagination awake. I am the resurrection and the life. I am that I am. Let this word be sealed. Let this decree be done. Let this truth be flesh. In the name of I am. Amen.